Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lead Different podcast. I'm excited to share with you today my good friend, Paul Epstein. He has spent nearly 15 years as a professional sports executive for multiple NFL and NBA teams, a global sports agency, and the NFL league office, where he broke every premium revenue metric in Super Bowl history, opened a billion-dollar stadium, and founded the San Francisco 49ers Talent Academy, where he became known as the Y Coach. As an award-winning keynote speaker, named one of Success Magazine's top thought leaders that gets results, Paul's impact continues offstage, providing leadership development and culture transformation programs for companies and teams, including Amazon, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, NASA, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Dallas Cowboys. And his work has been featured on ESPN, NBC, Fox Business, and USA Today. He's also a two-time best-selling author of The Power of Playing Offense and Better Decisions Faster, both books that I've read and that made an impact on me. I'm excited to introduce you to Paul Epstein. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Dan, fired up to be here.
Man, I'm so excited that you're here. Listen, you've been busy, my friend. First of all, I want to, and there are a few books that I keep behind that I always want to feature. Yours is always up there, not just for this interview, but Better Decisions Faster is your latest book. And I got to tell you, you and I were together in October of 2023, I guess. And we had a conversation about better decisions. And I'll tell this to anybody. I read the book, and if you're lucky enough to get a one-on-one with Paul and go through a few decisions, you helped me greenlight a couple of big decisions in my life, and I'm forever thankful to you. And I'm so excited to share you with the Lead Different audience.
Yeah, no, it warms the heart. And look, the same way, and I'm very humbled and honored to hear the impact that my book and my thought leadership has had on you. And as they say, you write the books that you need as well. And so part of this was, yes, a pre-confidence in decisions, pre-clarity in decision transformation that I went through. So now it's unshakable confidence, it's unstoppable momentum, it's dialed in on clarity and courage in the way that I show up and make decisions. But the other part of it too is it's a never-ending journey, right? And I think that's, if we're being honest with ourselves, yeah, being an author, it actually helps me not just in the present, but more importantly in the future, because I want to make sure that I am holding up my end of the bargain and I'm living a green light life and I'm solving for the messy middle of yellow and I'm not running red lights. And if that just confused you and you're listening to this, well, then you got to go get the book, Better Decisions Faster, because the reality is our best life is when our head, heart, and hands are all fully aligned. And that was the mission of the book.
Yeah, and what a great mission, Paul. We've talked about head, heart, and hands since, we've known each other now at least 3 years that we've worked together on different things. We've collaborated through the Y conferences, and we've met with other clients you were working with. One of the things you always talked about is how our why, how, what that we brought to you at Y Institute kind of really resonated with you in a head, heart, hands kind of way. Talk about head, heart, hands for those that don't know what that all means, because when people do reviews of Paul's keynotes, they walk away with head, heart, and hands. What can you give us? If you had a minute to talk about it or a couple of minutes, take as much time as you want. Tell us what that means.
Absolutely. So Captain Obvious once said you should make better decisions faster. Okay. So if all I did was write a book that inspired and motivated the world to say, aha, I should make better decisions faster, well, then that's a sugar high, because we all know that if decisions are going to be a great currency of life, well, let's make them better and faster. So for me, that wasn't good enough. The $1 million question is, how do I make better decisions faster? So for me, after studying my own decisions and then understanding thousands and thousands of decisions of clients and friends and family and also some historical figures, and like we really go deep in the decision making, well, I found that there were three common inputs: head, heart, and hands. And it was this ecosystem approach to how do we create more alignment? How do we create more connection between our head, heart, and hands? Because when they are all aligned, it leads to better decisions faster. And then when we have misalignment, then that is the opposite. So the quick fast pass masterclass on this: think of your head as your mindset, heart as your authenticity, and then hands are your actions. So head is mindset, heart is authenticity, hands are action. And the how to make better decisions faster is what I call the head, heart, hands equation. The equation is head plus heart equals hands. I'll repeat that. Head plus heart equals hands. In other words, when deciding whether to use your hands, whether to take action, there's two checkpoints: head and heart. Head, do I think it's a good idea? Heart, do I feel it's a good idea? And if you're listening to this, just like when you're driving a car, you pull up to an intersection, you know exactly what to do. Green is go, red is stop, yellow is assess. And that's exactly how the head, heart, hands equation works. When your head and heart are on board, it's a green light. 10 out of 10 times you take that action. The opposite, no head, no heart, that's a red light. Don't do it or stop doing it. And then when only one of the two, only either your head or your heart is on board, that's a yellow light. And we got to solve for the gap. So the simplest way of thinking about this is, of course, we all want to live and lead a green light life. Also, the mission of the book is to create the awareness through the head, heart, hands equation so we no longer run reds. Because when we run reds, the compounding effect of months or years of red lights, now I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, I'm not feeling greater purpose, I'm not driving greater impact, I feel stuck, burned out, fatigued, I could keep going. Bottom line is no more running reds. And we need a framework to help us prevent running those reds. And then lastly, Lord knows we need a playbook to conquer and navigate that messy middle of yellow. And yes, Dan, when I talk to people, I call it an MVD, like a sports acronym, MVP, most valuable player. I call these your most valuable decisions, your MVDs. And after a keynote or in a keynote, when I say, I coach them through exactly what I just said. And I said, think of an MVD. And then I walk them through head, heart, hands. And I say, who landed in a green? Who landed in a red? Who landed in a yellow? And darn near every time, 80 to 90% of the room falls in the yellow, the messy middle of yellow. That's why we have paralysis. That's why we feel stuck. That's why decisions can be downright scary. And so instead of becoming a part of the problem, I said, well, let's write the solution. I want to make better decisions faster. And it turns out that the head, heart, hands equation is what leads to more green. It gets you through the messy middle of yellow, and it prevents us running reds.
Man, that's such a great, you're so good at it. Obviously you wrote the book on it. So I love that quick summary, because one of the things that we talked about in the opportunity that I had, I was blessed with the opportunity to run through a big yellow that I was in, where my head was there, but maybe my heart wasn't all in. And I said, but yeah, when I think about this thing that I want to do, my head, my heart are there, and my hands are just raring to go. So I love that quick analysis or quick description that you gave us, because as you go through the book, there's so many tools that you have in there that are so valuable to get through that messy middle. So thank you for talking about that, Paul. Hey, let's bring it to something, a big decision you had to make. And I was, as I was reading, and I forget about these fun facts about Paul, he was married on the field at Levi Stadium. That must have been who to marry was a pretty easy decision, I'm sure. But the decision to have it at Levi Field, I know everybody, Levi Stadium, everybody probably asks, was that your idea, Paul? I love it. I love that story. So I'd love to share it with the audience and talk about that decision.
It's funny because when you work in the NFL and NBA for 15 years and plus, I'm just a born and bred sports fan. So from the earliest moments of my life that I could ever remember, it's the classic throwing the ball with my pops in the backyard and all that good stuff. And so sports has been a part of my life forever. And so then you turn a passion project or being a fan into a career, and not only a career, but you're a high riser and you're blazing trails. So I literally went from an entry to executive level in the sports world. You already said the bio, but it was 3 NBA teams, then the NFL league office, and then my last handful of years before the eventual Jerry Maguire league, which was another massive decision, no doubt, better and faster. But before that, I spent the 5 years at undoubtedly the best culture, the best team, the best group of leaders that I was ever around. It was all at the 49ers. And so when people hear, dude, you literally got married on the field, like you forced your wife to get married on a football field. And that's when I say, not so fast, not so fast, because the venue was her idea. I swear. I happen to get lucky, okay? Besides meeting her in Vegas and us being two crazy kids, and we had a lot in common, quote unquote, off the field, where I really fell in love with her was, and I had some non-negotiables. Speaking of better decisions, Dan, I rarely share this publicly, not because I don't want to, but it just doesn't always organically come up. But when we're looking for the right person to spend the rest of our life with, or somebody that would attract you to become very close friends, or the ideal boss for you, or the ideal teammate for you, like we all have to make people decisions in our life, personal and professional. And I remember as I was going through my single chapters, that one of my non-negotiables was, if I'm ever going to settle down, she's got to be a sports fan. And most people in my life thought it was stupid and I was nuts. And dude, if she checks all the right boxes and she's not a sports fan, I said, nope. And they thought that was the wrong approach, the wrong mindset, the wrong game plan. But for me, it was just this non-negotiable, because I knew that if it's the perfect person for me, and that's how we're going to spend a lot of our free time, then we've got to choose. We've got to make decisions on how to choose our free time in the same ways. Otherwise, that's just going to create problems and friction down the road. And so I found it. And here was the quick backstory. When we were in Vegas and we're meeting at a nightclub, and I have to spare a lot of these details because, as they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So I'm going to cut out 80% of the details of the story. But here's what was important. Dan, if you remember way back in the day, you could buy ringtones. So they were 99 cents and you could customize and tailor whatever spoke to your heart. And I remember in that time is when I met her. So this is probably going back to like the year 2011. And from her purse, as her phone rang during one of the first ever conversations that we had, I heard da 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 da. So for those that may not be familiar, that is the Sports Center ringtone. And so in the most popular sports show in the world, every sports fan knows exactly what that is. And as soon as I heard it coming out of her purse, my heart just started palpably beating faster and faster. And I knew that she was the one. I literally knew, if somebody that I feel such connection with, such chemistry with, and she wanted to get the Sports Center ringtone, it was a match made in heaven. And then fast forward years later, she says, hey, why don't we get married on the field? I know you just took over the events department for San Francisco. And the crazy thing was, I almost tried to talk her out of it, believe it or not, because as cool as it was, and don't get me wrong, and I would not change a thing now, but at that time, I'm like, really? This is where I work. This is my office. Would you want to get married at your office? But in typical fashion, I got outvoted 1-1. And so, maybe I'm preaching to the choir on that one out there, but that was really it. That was the backstory. And it was just, you want to talk, you can't tell by the last name of Epstein, but proud Mexican descent. So mi mamá nació en Nayarit. I spent a lot of my childhood in Ensenada. And then on my wife's side, both sides are Mexican, the Michoacán y de Guadalajara. So when I met her, and you talk about getting the most important people in our life together, there was a taquero at the wedding. We were enjoying some of the world's finest tequila flowing straight out of barrels. There was even a mariachi band, a first in Levi Stadium history. So how's that for celebrating one of the most special and iconic times of our life?
I knew there was a reason we had that connection, Paul Epstein. When we talked about, you grew up doing some of the same things when that brings such great memories. You grew up going to Mexico and visiting family as a kid,
Yeah,
and I did the same thing. And it's such a great cultural experience. So on your mom's side, you had the Mexican side of you, and then obviously on your dad's side is where the Epstein comes from. And it's really cool that you were able to honor that part of your heritage at your wedding. So amazing. And you've had a little bit of production going on in that department too. I got to talk about PJ and Luca, the prides of your life. You post about them, so I know it's okay that we talk about them. But
sure.
that's a decision that's an important one, to decide to bring little humans into this world, and then take on all the responsibility that comes with that. What's been the biggest change for you? Because
Mm,
listen, we're talking,
mm.
our audience are coaches and a lot of leaders at really high level, performing at a really high level the way you are. How are you able to do that now that you've got PJ and Luca that you've got to take care of, and share that with your spouse, who's also a sports fan and probably has a lot going on herself?
At the sake of not going too deep into the cliche bucket, I should say, everybody talks about work-life balance, and I fundamentally believe that for the most part, it's BS. It's BS because, especially if you quantify it, I've done the math here. We all are going to work over 100,000 hours over the course of a career. And if that's the number one bucket of this finite resource that we call time, the number two bucket is sleep. And then the number three bucket is everything else. And they go in a downward slope order. And so what I realized early in my career is you have to find a level of love and passion and purpose and impact in what you do, because it's going to be the biggest chunk of time. And then if you want to go all in on the third bucket, because sleep, let's just slice that out. The way I describe my true scoreboard now, my true level of happiness and fulfillment, what you will always see me, whether social media or anywhere else, I say, love both planes. Love both planes. And the plane can be literal, like it is for me, where I'm always traveling to go deliver speeches. Or it could be, if you're a remote worker, it could be a walk down the hall. It could be the drive down the freeway or highway. Whatever it is that your commute to work entails, do you love it? Like, is it an 11 out of 10? And then on the flip side, are you 11 out of 10 excited to plug back into the rest of your life? And I'm not counting the hours. This is harmony. This is integration. And I have realized, Dan, that one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves, and it may not be possible for everybody tomorrow, but over the long game, it can be earned. It is the freedom of choice. I absolutely love being the CEO of my life. I love the fact that now, especially as an entrepreneur, not that everybody has to become an entrepreneur, but this was my path to freedom. This was my path to authenticity. This was my path to becoming the best version of myself, because I knew that as somebody that lost my dad at 19 years old, that I'll be damned if somebody's going to tell me how to be a father and how to live my life. And I wanted to be present and abundantly there, if not in quantity, in quality. And I just realized, for me, plugging into a bigger machine no longer made sense. Me being in a 1,000-person org chart no longer made sense. So I had to make a decision, but I didn't make the decision solely for professional reasons. I made the decision as a husband and father just as much. And so when I say love both planes, I found a calling. I had a career in sports. Now I have a calling as a speaker and a thought leader and an author and somebody that just gets to live my purpose each and every day. You hear it in my voice. I love the plane to go to the event, to go light up a room of 1,000 people. The Latin definition of inspire is to breathe life into. I was put on this earth to breathe life into people. That goes for the stage. It goes into my home. It goes in the mirror. It is literally, I am here to breathe life into people. And knowing that, I love getting to go do what I do. And then I'm obsessed to get on the plane to come home. And I have recently described this to a bunch of audiences. And I have said, because now my older PJ, who's about 3.5, he now knows that dad leaves, and dad leaves to go do the work. And that's sometimes 2 days away from home, 3 days away from home, 4 days away from home, whatever it turns out to be. And he says, Dad, where are you going? And then you'll love this, Dan. And I'll give him any response, which leads to the obvious, why? So I know you're a why guy. So like, this is a different kind of why, but it's still a why. And so he asked me that about 200 times. And I've now been able to share with him. And it may not make sense to a 3.5-year-old, but I'm going to keep saying it because I mean it from my soul. I say, Daddy is going to go chase his dream so that you can chase yours. And I want PJ to know that he needs to find something like a dream, like an ambition that he's obsessed about. And I want him to attack it, not for the outcome, not for the prize, but for the fulfillment. And I also want to show him that if you have a dream or an ambition or something you're obsessed about, then attack it like it was your last day here. Like, you got to go work. You got to work, And I just came from a speakers mastermind last week, and they had this amazing quote, and I'll just repeat it. I didn't make this up, but they said, legends do the work. Legends do the work. I want my kids to do the work, but not because of work, because I want them to find work that makes them happy. If PJ and Luca could check these 2 boxes, I will be the proudest parent in the world. A, be happy and earn happiness. And B, have a killer work ethic. That's all that I want. They can fill in the rest of the story, the rest of the narrative. But if you give me happiness and a killer work ethic, Dad's proud.
Man. Whoa, there's so much we can unpack there, Paul. Thank you so much. I want to jump up and go jump on a plane. I gave up the travel a few years back for reasons that were important to me at the time. But I love that phrase for those of you that are out there that got to get on a plane, because you it's part of what you do. I love that you said, I get to get on a plane and I get to go make a difference in the lives of others. And I get to go and live your dream, chase your dream, so that Luca and PJ can one day chase theirs. And that's such a great mindset to remind our children, because they do miss us when we're gone. They do wish we were there, right? So giving them that perspective that, hey, I'm chasing my dream, and one day you're going to chase yours. And by the way, all that wisdom that Dad Paul has, he's going to share it with you, and it's going to make you a better person. And I love the other part that you said is love both planes. That intersection of both planes, where, hey, you're going to love getting on that plane, and you're going to be obsessed about getting home to your family. That is so amazing, and what a great illustration. So those of you that are listening, I've got to give you an opportunity to talk about Win Monday, Paul, because Paul, I will tell you, I've known him. I have never seen Paul on low energy. This is Paul at 11 o'clock at night. This is Paul at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so if you're blessed enough to work with him, this is the Paul you're going to get. But guess what? You don't have to hire him to come and give a keynote. You don't have to hire him to come and coach your team. You can have a little Paul in your life through Win Monday. So, Paul, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about Winning Monday and what that means and how people can get involved.
Love it. Win Monday is the outpouring of me saying, because of my dad being an educator, and he found impact at continuation schools, which were a kid's last chance. And some of his former students would come up to me years after he passes and says, your dad's the first person that ever believed in me. Your dad's the reason that tomorrow is worth it. Like, to hear things like that, I always thought about impact and making a difference and leaving people better than I found them. And I always equated to, if my dad chose a classroom and then I chose a boardroom and now I choose a stage, but the impact is all the same. And the reality is, like you just said, Dan, there's a lot of folks listening into this that maybe your organization, your team is going to bring me in to speak. And if so, awesome. But if you don't, or you can't, then how can I still create impact? How can I scale my impact? So Win Monday was me pouring my heart and soul to say there are countless people to impact their lives, and I'm not going to rely on this business angle of if I don't get hired as a speaker. This to me was putting myself out there. And here is who we attract. Here is the Win Monday spirit, because the philosophy is very simple. When you win Monday, you have momentum to win the week. And no matter what your growth or transformation journey or your success journey looks like, Win Monday is always the start here button. So with that, to lock us in and really ground us, here's how I think about winning Monday. It's this obsession with growth, and it's a community of unreasonable ambition. I want to surround myself with people that have unreasonable ambition. They're always chasing, but yet they're just trying to win the day. They're not overly obsessed about what's to come. They just know that tomorrow I can be better than today. Today I will be better than yesterday. And if we can make these incremental steps in our life, one day, one decision, one moment at a time, one action at a time, then I've curated a playbook. And it literally is the best of the best insights that I have, tools, tactics, strategies, mindset shifts, game plans, playbooks. Like, what is one way that you can win Monday? And every single Monday, I'm in your inbox with a short video, not to climb Mount Everest, but to do one thing to win Monday and create unstoppable momentum to win the week. And if we can compound that and we do the rinse repeat effect of that, well, now that's a winning life. Because I don't just talk about winning at work. I talk about winning in your relationships. I talk about winning in health. I talk about winning with your investments. I talk about winning in all areas so that you can just win, period, full stop. Be a winning person. Surround yourself with a winning tribe. And that's why we created Win Monday. So the call to action is simple. winmonday.win. Dan, I don't get too creative with my URLs here, okay? winmonday.win. And what that's going to do, it's going to take you to Monday Momentum, which is really this mission that I've been on to say, knock, knock, it's Monday. Here's one thing you can do. Let's go win the day to win the week. And then we do it all over again the next Monday and the following and the following. And the outpouring of support has just been phenomenal. So if this, what I have talked to Dan and with you about today, if this resonates and it speaks to you on a deep level, then winmonday.win is where you can sign up and just get on the momentum journey with us.
Hey, Paul, you said a lot of really cool things there that I want to follow up on. Number one is you talked about winning Monday and creating momentum to win the rest of the week. We all know, and I'm talking to a sports guy here, so we know the importance of momentum, right? You can have a game that's going fantastic. Someone's winning by 40, and let's talk about football game, by 40 points, and the other team thinks they've got it. And all of a sudden there's a turnover or something that happens, and the other team just gains momentum, and that momentum leads to confidence. So you win Monday and you build momentum, you build confidence. And you talk about the compound effect of that. If you win Monday every Monday and you build momentum that carries you to the rest of the week, that's just going to lead to better and better results for you. And then you talked about that infinite rule of constantly getting better. You don't have to be better than anyone else. You just have to be better than you were yesterday. And you have to make sure that tomorrow you are better than you were today. What are some of the great stories that you've heard from people that are winning Monday? I know you've already gotten some feedback from people that are part of the Win Monday tribe. Give me one of your favorites.
Yeah, I'm going to get real with this one. I actually just heard it this morning and it's very fresh and top of mind. So I'll just let it rip. And one of the bigger reasons why people don't have momentum or they feel like their growth has stalled, it's not always because of a lack of a gift or a talent or an ability or a skill. It's often some stuff on the inner game. And it's also who you surround yourself with. Because when you surround yourself with the wrong people, that's where dreams go to die. That's where hope and goals and ambitions, we just cripple ourselves. We drain ourselves out of all of that hope and that belief and that positivity and that optimism. So what one individual said this morning to me is, Paul, people think I'm weird. They think I work too much. They think it's not normal. They think it's not healthy. They tell me to do less. And when they tell me that, I feel like less because they just don't get me. They don't get the mission that I'm on. They don't get why I do it. And maybe I just need to plug into a different circle because my current circle isn't working. And you know what, Dan? I've felt that way in my past as well, where people think that it's always work-life balance at all costs. And I think that the word obsession and the words unreasonable ambition, it has to mean something to you. I'm not telling you to get obsessed with something you don't care about. That would be foolish advice. But when you find something, like when I say to PJ, Daddy's going to go chase his dream so that you can chase yours, it's because if I didn't go chase my dream, I am not going to show up at home the way that I need to show up. It is my fuel. It is my oxygen. I get to go do what I do. And if I surrounded myself with people that didn't have that internal wiring, then I wouldn't go do what I do, or I would do it less effectively, or I would do it at a smaller volume. And now I'm leaving impact on the table. There are countless negative dominoes that follow when you surround yourself with people that are not on the same wiring level as you. So for me, I want to hang out with people that are obsessed with growth. I want to hang out with people that have unreasonable ambition. I want to hang out with people that want to win at life, not just work, but life. And if you don't surround yourself with that energy, then you're just not going to do any of those things. Or you're going to talk about it, but you're not going to do it. And now we're just spinning our wheels. So that's really, Dan, you asked me a real question. I'm giving you a real answer. I am here to provide a home of personal growth and professional development for the people that may not have it. Or they have it, but they don't safely lean into it. Or they have it, but they want to up-level it, like because they just know there's a better way. And that's really what this is all about. And I have found, I didn't know I was going to be serving this avatar of, hey, dude, I feel really alone. Like people look at me weird because I work too much or I'm obsessed with what I do. And like they make me feel small. I'm like, screw that, dude. Welcome home. Welcome home.
And home is winmonday.win. And that's how you get involved with this amazing movement. Paul, man, I could talk to you for an hour, and I'm going to have you back. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing you at the YCon in October. And if not sooner, I know you're gonna get a chance to be with one of our good friends, Gary Sanchez, this week. You guys just found out that this morning, and I love that those connections happen. I want to do what I do. And you said something else that I think is really important: unreasonable ambition, unreasonable goals, and winning at life. Those are so important. I want to go back to something that you said earlier, because I think when you have that need, that want, that get to, you do the work and it doesn't feel like work. Legends do the work. And I'm going to just change that. Legends do the work that makes them happy. I can just see that oozes out of you when you talk about your passion, your project, what it is that you're involved in. Paul, that's such a great way to just finish the show. What do you say we end the show on that note? And we promise to have you back.
Why not?
I love it, Paul. Listen, I can't wait to air this episode. I can't wait to share you with the world. I know you've got to run and get to your next appointment. So we're going to cut it here. But thank you, everybody, for listening. If you want to join Paul's community, don't forget to go winmonday.win and sign up, learn more about it. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of the Lead Different podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you all next week.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different because great leaders change the world.